Welcome to F1 Sport News. Let's take a look at today's F1 news. Ferrari CEO Benedetto Vigna has confirmed that Lewis Hamilton will be present at the F1 team's headquarters next week. Speaking at a press conference in Milan introducing the partnership between Ferrari and UniCredit, Vigna did not give an exact date, but confirmed Hamilton's debut at Maranello would take place next week. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of desire to start, said the Ferrari CEO. Lewis Hamilton will be with us at Ferrari next week. We are preparing the last things. There are a lot of expectations. We are ready for almost anything. We will make sure everything goes according to plan. Change is always beautiful. Hamilton's arrival at Ferrari is expected to cause chaos on the streets of Maranello. Italian journalist Roberto Cincero said a Hamilton frenzy had begun in the country ahead of his arrival, which he said would require a heavy police presence to control the large crowds expected to gather in the streets near Ferrari's headquarters. Gina Lisi, a Ferrari fan, believes Hamilton would become a hero forever if he wins a title with Ferrari, solidifying his status among F1 legends. He has nothing more to prove in another team. But with Ferrari, that could change his life if his life is already that of a champion of champions. Winning with Ferrari will make him a hero forever. Addressing the challenge between Hamilton and Leclerc, Alesi remarked, "Hamilton reads the tires, he reads the traffic. We can say he has the experience, but I don't think it's just the experience. He has a different feeling and is very strong in terms of race pace. Charles is very strong in qualifying, and of course your starting position on the grid is always very important. It will be very interesting to see what will happen between those two." Williams principal James Vowles admits his approach to restructuring the Grove-based team was always going to be costly in the short term. The former Mercedes strategy director joined Williams 2 years ago, finding some of the most famously Ming Dynasty infrastructure and Excel spreadsheets used to keep track of all the car's parts, partly due to a lack of budget when the team was still owned by the Williams family. While Vowles has worked hard to overhaul his squad, he revealed that some of the progress made has not been as expected, describing it as a reflection of good choices and bad choices in an end-of-season interview with motorsport.com. "We had to change a lot of things in our organization in terms of infrastructure and technology to get us to the right place," Vowles continued. "And there's a sign called change fatigue. You can change things to a certain level. You go too far and you'll break it. If you think about it, moving something a little bit further than we can handle in one go. But we're not going to unlearn that. That's going to stay with us forever. So that's a positive thing. It's just marred by the negative. And what I'm saying is, yeah, that's absolutely right. But we didn't do that well. That's why we didn't fight for that position. That's a reflection of where we are as a team and where I want us to be as a team." The assessment is in line with the approach Vowles advocated when designing and building the Williams FW46 last year. "I wanted to push the system to the absolute limit to understand where it breaks and how it breaks once. This is the only winter we're going to do it," he said. There is a lot riding on Williams' 2024 F1 season, both literally and metaphorically, with crashes and other shortcomings aplenty. But that is the price Vowles must pay to prepare for a new technical era starting in 2026. When asked if this was short-term pain for long-term gain, Vowles replied, "I think that's a good view, and I knew it would happen. I've always said from the beginning, before we started this year, we were going to sacrifice 2024 and 2025. This is a little bit of a glimpse of that sacrifice, only it's a bigger sacrifice than I anticipated." The Englishman confirmed that he has the full backing of team owners Doralton Capital regarding his approach. "That was part of the agreement from the beginning when I joined, that no one, on either side, wanted a short-term fix. It's all going well for the future," he continued. "Nothing should be a sticky plaster. Sticky plaster looks good, creates a layer, and then quickly falls apart. It could be 1 year, it could be 3 years, but it's going to fall. Do this right, that we're building a successful team for years to come. So to answer that, we have to support each other." Vowles acknowledged there was greater pressure in 2026, but clarified that the pressure was largely coming from himself. "What we've known internally is that 2026 is not going to be the be-all and end-all," he added. "This is going to be a positive step in the right direction. 27, 28 should be a step above that." And really, from 2025 onwards, we're just starting to see the fruits of the hard work that we've done over the last few years come to fruition. As soon as you go and pick a year and say this is going to be the last year, you're probably creating the wrong environment. Every year should be a build-up to the previous year. Red Bull Racing is preparing for a strategic shift with its Red Bull Powertrains division, aiming to produce its own power units starting in 2026. Christian Horner acknowledged the scale of the challenge ahead. There is a very exciting chapter coming up with the Red Bull Powertrains. It is the biggest challenge we have faced in our 20 years in Formula One and potentially one of the most exciting. Horner emphasized the team's realistic approach to their ambitious project. 2026 will be a complete reset, and just 4 years ago we started from a blank sheet of paper to produce our power unit. In these 4 years we have built a factory and developed an engine, but we have no illusions. Ferrari has 75 years of experience and Mercedes 30 with the HPP. The mountain we have to climb is immense, but with the spirit and the right people, it will be feasible. Red Bull's goal with its powertrains division is to achieve technological independence while meeting the demands of new F1 regulations, focusing on sustainability and energy efficiency. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko emphasized the need to provide Max Verstappen with a competitive and controllable car to support his pursuit of a 5th consecutive F1 driver's title in 2025. Marko reflected on the struggles with the RB20 after Adrian Newey's departure, but expressed optimism for the future. Let's start with last year, in which it was very close. We started well and dominated, but since the departure of Adrian Newey, our technicians had some trouble getting the most out of the car. That was reflected during the weekend in Imola, for example. But at the end of the season, things gradually went in the right direction, and we can say that we are very optimistic for the future. Marko noted that McLaren was the most consistent and competitive team in 2024, but he expects a closely contested battle in 2025. The truth is that from Miami onwards, 4 teams competed for victories. Frankly, McLaren has always been the most consistent and competitive team, regardless of temperatures, weather, tires, and track layout. We have to take that into account because the others, including Red Bull, have had ups and downs. Despite tight competition, Marko stressed Verstappen's unique ability to make the difference. We just need to give him a competitive and solid car, and then you will see that he will take care of the rest. Thank you for your attention. See you again in F1 Sport News. Don't forget to subscribe and like.